Good morning. Well, it looks like I'm a little dark. Let's see if we can get that screen. Well, welcome to Hinsdam this morning, where we're sitting doing a little bit of creative work on a Monday morning. I always find it's good to get some creative stuff in early and then kick off into the week. Mind you, I did start work at about 5:45 this morning, so I've already been into client sites, doing some SEO and making a mess, as they say, having fun. Mainly because, swimming has gone back to normal time, so I'm dropping my son and daughter off at 4:45 in the morning. Then I do 1.2 kilometres myself, and then into the day because, well, you're awake. Let's face facts, so you might as well get into it. So today I'm going to look at a question that was sent to me, and it was, what is the most cost-effective SEO strategy for a startup business? Thank you. And it's a really, really good question. Being in the process of building a startup myself with the t-shirt company, it's really interesting, starting cold with a different sort of product. A lot of it has to do with the product, a lot of it has to do with the audience, and it's really about doing the research and getting to know people. So if we were to take the t-shirts, okay, so here's a new one, nice one. One of the most difficult things is that, yes, people search for t-shirts for firefighters, or firefighter t-shirts, or firefighter funny t-shirts. I know all the keywords that people are searching for, which is fine, but to put up a picture of a t-shirt and say buy now with only a few words next to it, from an SEO perspective, it really isn't all that crash hot. I mean, we talk about having articles a couple of thousand words. Well, how do you write a couple of thousand words about a t-shirt? It's really difficult. So I'm having to delve into that myself about, okay, so how do I make this work? Do I need to, because this is a lifestyle brand built around, keeping fit, being proud to be a firefighter, or supporting firefighter, have to be a firefighter to wear the t-shirts. How do I build content that's going to attract my audience and get my gear in front of them? And I suppose, from my perspective, firefighter workouts might be an angle. I could talk about workouts. I could talk about firefighter workouts for guys and girls over 40. I could now narrow it down considerably. I could talk about firefighter workouts for wildland and rural firefighters, as we call them in Australia, or wildland in America and Canada, and start to niche down there. But it's still quite an ongoing process that I'm developing. But let's look at it from the standard point of view, normal business, electrician, for example. What's the most cost-effective method? My personal point of view is what to do. The first is to understand who you're targeting. Okay, so you need to find your audience. So if you're an electrician, you're probably targeting people within a specific area. So if you're in Melbourne, you won't do all of Melbourne. It's too far to travel with the traffic and all that sort of stuff. The same with Sydney. But if you take Gold Coast, for example, Gold Coast is a much more compact area, and it's not unusual to see electricians, servicing the whole Gold Coast. That said, that may change over time depending on how big we get. Obviously, you're going to get the best cut through when you're geographically targeted to a smaller area, say Robina on the Gold Coast, or a specific area in Melbourne. But all of that kind of is about finding which audience do you want to tackle. So you need to really target down your niche a lot, even before you worry about what's cost effective, because if you're too generalistic, you won't get cost effectiveness. But if you've done all that and who you're targeting, where they are, what sort of work you want to do, commercial, industrial, residential, whatever it happens to be, it might even just be installing safety switches, and that's it. That's your specialty. I know from experience that some electricians do this, and then of course when you get in someone's house, they go, well, while you're here, can you fix that? And so it does lead to a lot of alternative stuff, but doing safety switches is an easy way to get cut through in the market and from an SEO perspective, because you specialize all your content in that one area. So what would I do? The first thing I would do is I would go to Google My Business, and set up a Google My Business listing, what used to be Google Places. Now, I've talked about this a lot lately. It's on the maps. It is becoming a key element of SEO and Google, as by itself. So you need to go there. You need to fill in all of that, and not just a little way, all in, including all the videos and pictures, etc. And then you need to put your address in and get the postcard that they send out and confirm that listing. Okay, because this is free. As far as cost effectiveness goes, it's free. And then once you've got that, you can start to blog each week about your specialty to your target market, which Google loves, directly into your Google My Business listing. You can even integrate your booking script in there so people can book jobs directly from Google My Business. That would be the first thing I'd do as far as cost-effective SEO goes. Remember, we're talking about a normal business here within a specific geographic area. The second thing I would do is I would set up a website, and I would make sure that I bought a domain with the keyword that I want to be found for. So just say your name was, Joe Smith. Joe Smith's Electricals is okay, but Electrician Gold Coast is far, far better in Australia. Now, some people would say that it doesn't work to actually have place names in your domain name. Well, that's just a big fat lie when it comes to Australia and New Zealand, especially. When it comes to Australia, that technique still works exceedingly well. In fact, I see it every day. I just saw one for our financial planner who bought Financial Planner in the Place, and it would jump straight over the top of my client who was #1 for years. And that rather annoyed me. But look, it does apply. So don't go out and buy your name and use that for your website necessarily. You're far better actually by the geographic area that you're trying to show for and what you do. So, CBD, something like that, .com.au. Remember, .com.au because you're trying to target Australia. If you're targeting generally worldwide or somewhere, .com is perfect. So understand that would be the next thing I would do is buy a proper domain. I would get rid of another one and maybe just set up a single landing page if I've already bought my name as my business. But from a point of view of SEO marketing, I would buy the one that fits with what I'm trying to do. And then I would create content specifically related to that. Now, if you're an electrician, I would do before and after photos and talk about each job. And that would allow you to create, a regular post, at least, one a day. You only have to talk about, 100 words or so. They could be quite short posts. They don't have to be long articles. Before and after, and talk about where you did it and what you did. So when people see looking for a safety switch installer in Robina, and you've done, install of safety switch at Robina, unit complex, then before and after, well, that's where you're going to get, your SEO site. So that's a really, really simple way for someone like that to do it. As far as other people go, writing content specifically related to the area that you are in. So, for example, if you're a financial planner, you can write an article about how the RBA has changed interest rates. And in fact, I had this conversation with a client just last week. Or you can write an article that talks about how the RBA has changed interest rate and what it will affect for people on the Gold Coast, or how it'll affect people in Robina, or whatever your target market is. So don't just write your generic article, produce an article that talks about how this thing will affect the people you're talking about. That way the content is related to your local area and therefore Google to that. So that's what I would do if I had a startup and it was normal business. I said, Google My Business, website with URL that is within the, that has the keywords in the domain and the place name within the domain, and then content that is focused on the local area, making sure that you include the names of suburbs and places in your local area that, that Google would see as being related to that topic. From an SEO perspective, that's what I would do. The last step I would do, and it's not SEO, but I think it's really important, is I put a bit of budget into paid ads. Certainly with your maps listing, if you put $7 a day in there, you'd be lucky to spend, you know, $2 or $3 realistically. You will show up at the top of the map listings. Okay, so you can make those ones paid. You don't have to go as far as actually setting up full AdWords campaigns or ads campaigns. I would definitely look at doing that, and then look at putting in, say, $10 a day into AdWords and having a basic campaign set up so that my business was at least up there, and I guarantee that a few people saw me during the day. And then if that's working for you, then you can, you know, up your budget, because, you know, that's another part of marketing online these days. So that brings me to the end of today's little session. Have a think about how that applies to your business. Have a think about what you've actually done and whether you're doing this, especially when it comes to the content creation in relation to the area where you are. And maybe I'll have a look at some cost-effective strategies for where you're not targeting a specific geographic area, but similar rules will apply. Again, if you're going to write the article, rather than writing about a geographic area, write it about a specific type of person. You know, how accountants can do this, how financial planners are affected by that. You know, how electricians suffer from this. Focus in on your niche and bring them into the title and the content of any content that you do put on your website. I'm Brad Houck. Have a good week, and I'll see you down the road. If you have any questions, write them down below and I'll come back and answer them for you. Cheers. Have a good one.